'230.
Dude. Craft Brews and Casual Conversations, episode 2 of the Tunes and Brews thing. And this time, I'm not going to ramble the whole time like some loser. Joined with me is the guru, the master, my sensei in the radio and the podcasting world, and my overall just life mentor, Todd, is here.
That's funny because I think of you as my brew sensei, to be honest with you. So, like, the feeling's mutual.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, we're here to talk about two pretty different albums. So I figured, you bring one to the table, I'll bring one to the table. We'll talk about it a little bit, talk about why it's important to us or why we like it and all that kind of stuff. So before we get into that, though, of course, it is Dudes with Brews, Todd. We have to have a brewski. I am drinking some Great Notion Brewing from Portland, Oregon, the Super Baked, which... this would have been more appropriate maybe on a 420 episode, but that doesn't exist. What this is a blueberry lemon. It says, we dialed up the potency of our pie-inspired tart ale baked to bring you Super Baked. This recipe calls for loads of blueberry, lemon, vanilla, cinnamon, and milk sugar. It is 8% ABV, 0 on the IBUs. If you look at it, Todd, it's very, juicy looking stuff.
I mean, that kind of looks like either like a raspberry tea or something like that you might get at like an Applebee's or something.
It's very tart. It's very lemon forward. A little bit of a blueberry aftertaste. I'm not the world's biggest lemon fan. Lemon is okay in a thing. This is like, honestly, it kind of tastes like drinking potpourri. It's not bad though.
So as a child, was that your foray into drinking a little wet potpourri out of mom's bathroom there or something like that?
It could have been. My mom was a big fan of the potpourri back in the day. Not so much now.
All moms were.
And like it was always just there, and it was the stuff that just sits in the bowl on the end table. And I'm like, why the fuck is this here?
And gets all full of dust and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think all moms were back then. It was like the thing to do in your house was have a bowl or some sort of container with potpourri that you never changed out. No longer smelled. It kind of looked pretty, but it was just kind of like, what the hell? What is this all about?
At least it wasn't patchouli. Patchouli is
I don't even know what that.
It's a horrible smell. It's a smell. It's like a thing. It's like an incense. Patchouli, it's a stink. I don't know.
It's a stink.
A lot of people like it. Todd, we're gonna be talking about a couple of different albums. You are going to be talking about David Bowie's Black Star, and oddly enough, I'm gonna be talking about Against Me's White Crosses. I thought that was kind of interesting that we didn't know what we were gonna say, and you said Black Star, and I have White Crosses, so kind of, I guess,
interesting. That is kind of interesting, actually.
And so I have never listened to this album. I'm kind of ignorant to the Bowie stuff. I know some of the hits. I know the only reason I know one song that this is something to ground control. I'm stepping in the dark.
Yep.
I know that because of Mr. Deeds,
right?
The Adam Sandler movie.
I gotcha.
That's the only reason I know that. So I listened to it, and I want you to talk about it a little bit first. Give some information, your history with it, before I give my opinions and feelings.
Okay. I realize that this is a very odd album. I get that. Typically I don't like things that are new. So like for me to sit down and listen to the album that you're going to talk about tonight was very difficult for me to flip the switch and turn that on, only because I hate listening to something and then walking away either feeling disappointed or not understanding it. So I understand like the inability to really kind of get into this, but here's what's really cool about this album for me. I think it came out January 8th, 2016, which happens to be David Bowie's birthday.
Okay.
Kind of cool. He was born in 1947. So
damn.
When this happened, I was planning on getting the album because I had heard some information about the title track and all that kind of stuff. It was very freaky title track. But 2 days later, he died. So the album comes out on his birthday. He dies 2 years later or 2 days later. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this guy knows how to frickin' promote. I mean, he knew that he was at death's door. He knew all that. Didn't say anything really about it. People knew he had not been really well, but nobody knew that he was ready to die. And all of a sudden, here's a guy puts out a brand new album. It's strange as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And then he dies 2 days later. So I'm thinking, God, this guy's a freaking genius. Like to me, he planned the whole freaking thing.
And that was one thing that I had a question about was like, I saw that it was out in 2016. I was like, I'm pretty sure, yeah, this was his last album that he released.
Yeah. Like 2 days later, the guy's gone. I wake up in the morning, I check my phone, and David Bowie's dead. And it's like, oh, shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like you, I didn't, like, I knew the hits and stuff like that from working in radio. And there was some stuff that really became favorites of mine. Changes became a huge favorite song, and Young Americans became a huge favorite song of mine. And the 80s stuff was fine. The reason why I really like this album, and even if you never get past the title track, which is damn near 10 minutes long.
Yeah, it's a long one.
If you don't get past Black Star, that's about, to me, it's all you really need to hear, because it's the freakiest song I've ever heard. And if you throw in the video with that, if you haven't, by the way, you should watch the video.
I think I've seen snippets.
There's kind of a throwback to the whole Major Tom thing, because in the video there is a spaceman in a suit, kind of dead with a skeleton. And to me, this was his way of saying, I'm out of here, I'm moving on. And in fact, in the song, it starts out really freaky and scary. There's kind of a warmer moment where it kind of switches gears, and you feel kind of like, oh, he's going to be okay. He's dead now and all this kind of stuff. And yet there's still this freaky tone to it. And then it comes back to it. And to me, it was kind of like the story of his life in a way. Like, he knew he was dying. He knew he was going to die. But he didn't know exactly what was on the other side. So he didn't have that information like the rest of us. So to me, Black Star, the song, as freaky as it is, and it's not something you're going to throw on at a party. It's not going to necessarily be something you throw on, at like a listening party or anything like that.
Right.
It's really a song where you're like, holy shit, like this guy knows that he's going. And then the imagery of the video itself, along with the song, it blew my mind. So the music itself, I think, is pretty good. Again, it's not something I would sit and listen to all night long, but the fact that he released it on his birthday, died 2 days later. I mean, this guy knew how to sell an album. It was one of his, top selling albums because of all that. That's why I chose this one. Because like for me, musically, it was great, but more importantly, like just the whole way he put it out there, released it, died. I think like any artist would not necessarily want to die, but they want that kind of buildup and anticipation for a new album whenever they put something out. He just knew how to do it better, I guess.
Yeah, and I had listened to it. I threw it on, and like as soon as I started listening to Black Star, I was like, this is weird. And I knew like Bowie, he's kind of like an experimental guy. He does a lot of different things. Another thing I thought interesting about it was like, this is a 7-song album. And yet it is 41 minutes and 17 seconds, which a lot of bands that I listen to, you have 10, 12 songs and it's only a half hour. But, I mean, there's a lot of length to these songs. Black Star, was weird. I didn't get through it all, to be honest. I skipped to the next. I skipped to the next song. Strictly because of the name. 'Tis a Pity She Was a Whore.
By the way, that is my favorite title on the album. Maybe not my favorite song, but my favorite title.
But still, that's one still obscure. Kind of the songs all blend together, which I kind of appreciate that too. Like when you have an album, a lot of people some people take them in for as a whole, what they are. This is the album. This is like whether or not it's a chronological story or it's something, but it's like there's a reason that the tracks were put in a certain order. There's a reason, like as long as they feel the same or not the same, but they flow together, that's what creates the whole picture of an album. To me, at least. And that's why I like listening to albums, because I like getting the whole thing rather than just a piece of it. You want the whole. You don't go to an art museum to just look at a corner of a painting. You look at the whole thing. You digest it. So I did listen to it as much as I could. I definitely I listened to every song, not it's an entirety, but yeah. So Black Star was, and I was like, holy shit, this is a long ass song. And then 'Tis a Pity She's a Whore. was okay. I thought not the best. My favorite song on that album was "Girl Loves Me."
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to speak more on like the tracks or what they like, kind of what stuck out to you.
Well, I think to me, nothing on this album was ever meant to be released as a single. We know
Right.
that. Like,
Yeah.
and I just want to throw this in here because as we speak, one of the big record stores where we are from is closing.
Yeah, I
Like
know it
it's like a big
sucks.
deal, right?
Yeah, the
And
exclusive company.
somebody in the radio industry that I kind of know who's younger said, "Well, big deal. You know, it's about time. How can they make a blah blah blah? Nobody listens to albums anymore." And I thought to myself, that mentality is what for me makes this album important because it was never meant to be released as a track. There were no singles released from this album. And
Mhm.
typically when you create music and you put out albums, the record company expects that there are going to be 1 to 3 or 4 tracks that are going to be released as singles so that money can be made and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. And again, he went out on a high note by basically saying, nothing here is going to be a radio track. It's just not going to happen. Nobody's going to play this stuff. There may be some obscure playing of like a girl loves me or something like that, but for the most part, nobody was going to add these songs to their. But again, sales were huge on this thing.
Right.
And again, it was because it was his last thing. For me, it was the end of an era of some really good music. I never got into his pop stuff. Let's Dance. Fine, we can play that song on a radio station. I don't really care about it. But you put on Young Americans, I'll crank that up, which, by the way, has Luther Vandross singing in the background. And you throw on songs like, Changes. You want to talk about like life changes and things like that. Every time I've made a change in my life, that song has come to my mind. So
Mhm.
while this album may not have like just stellar music, it was for me more an end of an era of somebody who had done really cool stuff for a long time. First guy to kind of bend the gender thing, go out
Yeah.
there wearing makeup and dresses and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
doing bisexual stuff with Mick Jagger and all that crap. And he does the Christmas special with Bing Crosby, which is still a great effing Christmas song. And so the guy's dying. He goes, "I'm going to put out an album, and I'm not going to care about all that stuff." To me, without getting into each track, that's really why this album is important to me because I thought he just went out on top.
Yeah, and it's and that kind of like you said, he speaks to who David Bowie is as a performer, as an artist, because he's like, he already has the fame and fortune. He could have easily cashed out and just made another pop album or another
Yeah, absolutely.
batch of singles, and he's just like, no, like he was an artist in the form of being an artist.
Exactly. Ziggy Stardust. I mean, he actually created a character
Right.
for a number of years. I mean, that's really what he did. And so this to me was like the ultimate piece of art to kind of end things. So again, it's not going to be something you throw on and you listen to, but I have to tell you, if you get a chance to watch the video for Black Star, it will creep you the F out. And the song is creepy. There's still really good parts of that song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So please do that. If you have not watched the video, just watch the whole damn thing. Take 10 minutes out of your life for me, Drew, and just watch the 10-minute video.
I think because I think I remember hearing something along the lines of like, he released this album and it was like more of an album of saying, hey, like you were saying, like, I'm about to go. I know I'm dying. And I had like seen clips of it, but I had never like stopped and seen it. And like I made the Facebook post about it, but more or less like saying I appreciate David Bowie, not because I'm a fan of David Bowie because I don't know his stuff, but because of, if it wasn't for David Bowie, a lot of the bands that I listen to wouldn't be around.
Absolutely.
And
you're absolutely right.
It's interestingly enough, like you said, David Bowie worked with all these people, did the gender bending thing, did kind of that stuff, and of course he had Under Pressure with Queen, with Freddie Mercury and all that. So it's like he really had that broad spectrum of people. And the album that I want to talk about is White Crosses by Against Me, who this is the last album in which the lead singer, Laura Jane Grace, wasn't out as transgender. So you probably didn't know this. So the lead singer is transgender. Laura Jane Grace is her name. And the White Crosses is the album before Transgender Dysphoria Blues So it's like you see kind of a shift. And, you know, in a sense, you could maybe relate some of that to David
No,
Bowie.
not just in a sense. I think absolutely. I mean, without him having done that and been there and showed that he can do it and not necessarily get away with it because he took a lot of heat for it. You're right. A lot of the bands today wouldn't be able to do some of the stuff they are. I mean, he played a part in all that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and he was in some Labyrinth movie too.
I've never seen that movie.
Neither have I.
And I'm kind of scared too because I always hear about the tight pants he wore, and I'm not sure I want to see David Bowie looking like that. So I just throwing that out there.
I thought I was gonna get yelled at because I haven't seen it. There's so many movies I haven't seen that people like just ridicule me.
And that's a Jim Henson thing, right? I mean, I love Jim Henson, but I've never seen that before.
I've seen Pan's Labyrinth. I don't know if that follows the same storyline.
I don't know. I think that's a blue that's a blue version of it, isn't it? That's some kind of
I think so.
Pornography.
The baby doesn't die in Labyrinth. In Pan's Labyrinth, it does.
Okay.
So overall, if I probably wouldn't listen to Black Star ever again. But I'll watch the movie, or I'll watch the music.
It practically is a movie. You're right.
But I definitely appreciate David Bowie for what he did, for what he's done. And for doing that because there's so many artists out there now that just like looking to cash in, and I think and I don't think that's what he was doing with this one, which is good.
I don't think so either. And again, going back to the comment that was made about albums and stuff like that, his songs on average are between 4 and 6 minutes long. The longest is 10 minutes. In this day and age, and we know this on Spotify, any of the new pop artists out there, and even people who are kind of in the punk and stuff like that, and some of the rock realms, 2 minutes, 30 seconds and you're out. Right. And the reason why is because you want to get as many streams on that song as possible. So if it's a good song and people dig it, guess what? They're going to play it again.
Right.
And they're going to play it again. So you might get 3 streams out of it instead of 1. I mean, it's genius, but for me, the artistic piece of music has gone from that to being basically this formula. You're going to do this. You're going to have 1 chorus or 2 choruses, and then you're out. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of, and I'm not one of those people that are like, hear the music these days, because I like just as much new music as I do old music. I was going to pick actually, I was going to do Lil Nas X. That's the album I was going to choose to begin with. Yeah, I mean, I love his music, and I could have chosen that one, but I went with Black Star instead.
Future edition, we could do that because that'd be
okay.
I'd be interested to hear that. So looking in, if we can move to Against Me here.
Yeah.
So this is Against Me is a band that I've listened to since I was 14 or 15 years old. I still love them very much. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. Laura Jane Grace is one of my punk rock heroes. I'm going to see her, I think, in May. She's playing with Anthony Green, who's in bands like Circus Survive, Seosin, and a ton of other things, and I'm looking forward to that. But this album is their 5th studio album, White Crosses. It was Butch Vig, of course. He's like a very big music producer. He's produced a million different albums of different varieties. I don't know if he ever worked with Bowie or not, but it was released on Sire Records, which is somewhat of a major label. And Against Me actually got some heat for going on the major label thing.
I was going to say that's not something you do these days, right? And especially in that genre.
Well, back in the day, in the later 90s, early 2000s, punk bands didn't sign to major labels because they were quote unquote sellouts. And this is something I talked about on the last episode too, when I talked about Anti-Flag's record. My argument behind it is, well, don't you want them to keep making music? Don't you want them to give you the product that you love and have the ability to do it? Well, because if they're doing it DIY all the time and they don't have a record backing that, they're going to starve to death. But that's just my opinion on it. But it did get some criticism because of who they're with. But White Crosses, it came out on June 8th, 2010. Came out in a time where things were weird in my life. I was going through some heartbreak, some like my first really big heartbreak of my life, and it was just weird, and it just was a record that I turned to and just listened to all the time, and like sometimes like just like from the tones of the sounds of the songs to like the lyrics. It just made me kind of feel comfort. So which is why I love it very much. A lot of people don't really like this album. But like,
I don't understand it because I've never heard them, never heard of them, and I felt the album was very listenable. Like I thought this was like some good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to their first album, their first studio album, reinventing Axl Rose, it's that album is very gritty, very not overly produced. It's it is a punk album, and it changes, it progresses over time, their sound, which I think is great. Like I don't want to hear the same thing over and over again on every record. Give me something different. This one, and I'm all about like when I listen to a record, I want to put it in. The first thing I want to hear is something that's gonna suck me in. And like when you put on White Crosses and the opening track is for their song White Crosses, you just hear that drum beat and then it just kicks in, and I love that song very, very much. And it's just it's the Laura Jane Grace singing voice is so unique. She can sing. She's got that like yell. She's got the raspiness to it too, and it's I just love it very much. And the things with this record, they had like 3 quote unquote singles because, of course, like you said before, Sire wanted to sell records, wanted to do that, so they had singles. And the first single was "I Was a Teenage Anarchist," which is the second song on the album.
That's my favorite, by the way.
Yeah, that was. I mean, it's good too because, and if you listen to Against Me, like they have songs about anarchy, but now it's just like, hey, I was a teenage anarchist, and like, these are the things I believed, but the revolution was a lie or whatever. Like, and it's kind of like growing up. It's kind of like that coming to age song, and it's really got that like, gets kind of like the theme is just like growing up, seeing this, asking questions, and then like going through some struggles. And that's just I kind of like what I was going through that too at the same time. It's just like my whole life changed, and it's just something that I fucking love this album so much. Their other singles, I guess, were White Crosses and High Pressure Low, but I Was a Teenage Anarchist got the most radio play of all of them. And then like kind of after that, like Sire's just like, all right, go fuck yourself. We're not gonna mess with you anymore. And then Laura Jane Grace Against Me has their own record label now, and they kind of do their own thing, which is cool. But what were your impressions of it?
Well, you mentioned that the early stuff was not overly produced. I didn't find this one to be overly produced, and it was one of the things that I kind of liked about it. It had a very 80s kind of sound to it, and just bear with me a little bit. There is the song that oh God, I thought I wrote it down. Maybe I didn't.
Does it have the piano in it?
Yeah, there's a little piano, and I think it may be
because of the shame. Because of the Shame is the third track, and it's slow. It's a slower song. Like it.
Oh no, this is an up-tempo record, and it may actually. I would have to listen to the tracks again, but it struck me as reminding me of Wang Chung. Not Everybody Have Fun Tonight, Wang Chung, but there was a tune that they did for the movie Breakfast Club, which was called Fire in the Twilight. Okay. And it's one of my favorite songs from the 80s that nobody ever played because it never was a hit. And so there's some 80s kind of sound to it. And the other thing, as you mentioned in the songs that I like too, was like, as you go through life, you see, when you're very young in life, you have a vision of what your life is going to be and what life should be.
Right.
And you have belief systems and all that kind of stuff. And then as you go through struggles and you go through reality, you realize sometimes those things aren't necessarily as important as others. And so while you don't necessarily change, maybe the way you look at things changes just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of the things kind of that I got in some of their music was just like you said, the movement was really important, but here's where I'm at in life right now. And
yeah.
I still kind of believe that stuff, but there's like a reality now. As you get older, there's a reality of life that you didn't want to face before.
Yeah, absolutely. And like they have, I mean, the songs are all pretty like kind of within that theme. And then the third track on there, Because of the Shame, is actually a response to a song off their album before that, New Wave, which was also on, I believe, on Sire. So they had like a 2-record deal. And that was Thrash Unreal, which is a single off that album too, in which the person who, I don't know if it was really written about them or not, she took it the wrong way and she committed suicide.
Oh,
and
God.
So like it was like yeah, it was a response to that. But that song always like hit me hard too. And then High Pressure Low, I really enjoy that song quite a bit. But my favorite song is the 9th track, is Rapid Decompression, because that's where the album kind of, it shifts a little bit. Like it goes like where it's just like that is like a punk song. Like it's fast and it's not the longest song, but it's I fucking love it, and it's just so good. And yeah, Against Me is amazing. If you ever have the opportunity to see them, I definitely recommend checking them out. And then their album after that, Transgender Dysphoria Blues, it completely changes everything, because it's like Laura Jane Grace came out as transgender, made the transition, and like the songs are just so fucking good. Like that record too is probably pretty close to White Crosses for me, or Searching for a Form of Clarity too. And the cool thing about like Against Me, I don't know if it's cool or not, but like when Laura Jane Grace came out, like people were shocked, but I'm like, no, it makes sense. Listen to this song on this album and it's right there. Or listen to this song on this album, also right there. And it's kind of cool. And she wrote a book that I read, and she mentions that too. Like yeah, there's hints in these songs like that. I said this stuff, and it's it's really like a coming to age record for me. And it was always hold near and dear to my heart.
I think it's cool that, and I don't even think it has to be that big of a transition for you to listen back to music and the meaning changes, or something becomes more clear to you when you listen back to music from the past. Like all of a sudden a lyric may stand out and you're like, okay, well that means this to me now, whereas when I was younger, that may have meant that. So like in this situation, you listen back to the tracks, you got the hints that, this was inevitable or this was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can look back and go, oh yeah, I that and that song and that song. But I think in general, music, if they're good songs, as you progress through life, you can listen back to those songs that you love so much, and they can have a little different meaning every time you listen to them.
Yeah. And another great part of it too is like when great and could be sad, I guess, but like when I throw it on, like I can remember it, like listening. I know exactly where I was when I was listening to the song, and I was like at my worst. And I was just like, that's when I had like a pack of cigarettes in my car. I wasn't a habitual smoker, but I had a pack of cigarettes because when I got super stressed, throw one in, smoke it, and then I remember one time I was listening to this record, and I'm lighting up a cigarette, and I look next to the car next to me. It's somebody I know, and they're pissed that I'm smoking a cigarette. And I was just and I'm zipping, the light turns green and I take off. And it's, it's like a little path down memory lane. And then it's like a good thing too with music. Like you said, like I can look back at it now and be like, dude, if you only knew where you're going to be in
absolutely
12 years, like you'll be happy, right, and it'll be good. So it's pretty interesting.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm relatively happy. We'll see what happens after this baby comes. Just kidding. We'll see how the wife handles the birth.
I think she's going to be fine. I have a lot of faith in your wife. You, on the other hand, I'm a little concerned about.
I'll be fine. I'll be good. The one thing we brought up was what are we going to do? What's the first song the baby's going to hear? And that's like a thing. Like I think more like new parents need to think about this. Like, hey, you give birth. Like, what's the first song your kid is going to hear? And that should be a thing. Like, all right, little child, welcome to the world. Here's some fucking good music. And then,
let's talk about like when you grew up. Like, what did your parents have playing in the background when you grew up?
Yeah, nothing that I listen to now. Well, kind of, I kind of do, but
it's like what? So like, what was it?
My dad listened to a lot of country, actually only country. He listened fucking Kenny Chesney, Montgomery Gentry, that kind of stuff. Like very radio country music. Nothing obscure, nothing unknown. Very mainstream country for the time, and it wasn't this pop country, this bro country that we have today. Right. It was, I think, more real deal country type of stuff. My mom, she had cassettes. And there was
right?
There's 3 cassettes that were always in rotation. Journey's Greatest Hits was one of them, and that one was always playing. Prince's Purple Rain was always playing too, and then she would occasionally throw in Seal, and I would just hear Kiss by a Rose or Kiss from a Rose, and then she would put in Def Leppard sometimes. So that was like what she listened to. What is top two easily, Prince and Journey all the time, and I like Journey a lot. I like Prince too. I wish I would have seen Prince when I had the opportunity. I didn't. I should have, because that dude could shred on guitar, and fuck, he's a performer. Like he was good.
Again, he was an artist. Like he created all those songs. He created some of those groups back then in the 80s. He was the driving force behind so many hits back then that you don't think about, not only for himself, but for other people. And he was definitely an artist. See, now, like my dad, there's only one song that really stands out that my dad loved. And this is going to go over a lot of people's heads because it's an old song, but it was a song by Dolly Parton called "Why'd You Come In Here Looking Like That?" That's the only song I remember my dad just absolutely loving. He would sing it to his dog. Okay. That's true. But my mom, like growing up, my mom had, one of those in the 70s. The big thing was one of those big stereos that looked like a piece of furniture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lift up the top, and there was the record player and the 8-track player and the stereo. So she had one of those, and she had 8 tracks, but it was all country for her. But it was like super legends, so like Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson, and Loretta Lynn and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I grew up on. I still listen to a lot of that. I don't listen to any new country. So
yeah,
I mean, but then I'll turn around and love Black Star from David Bowie. So there's still a piece of it. And the thing is, even if you don't. If you're not listening to Journey or Prince and stuff like that on a daily basis, when you hear that stuff, I bet you do think of your parents.
Oh, absolutely. And like, I know, like, I mean, I throw Journey on like when I'm really tanked and you want something, you want something to sing along.
So like
to.
Every Friday night, is that what's
No. But yeah, Prince is good. And, I think I bought my mom a Prince pop one time, the Funko Pops.
Yeah.
I bought her a Prince one time because every time I hear Prince, I think of my mom. Every time I hear Journey, I think of my mom. And then like every time I hear Man, I Feel Like a Woman, I think of my dad. by Shania Twain.
That is so that's so telling.
Yeah, he's gay, so I mean it's it's kind of their
it's just
that's their
I met Shania Twain one time.
Did you really?
She was at about that time when all that stuff was coming out, and she had a backstage thing, so it was a meet and greet, and the big rule was you cannot touch her. Yeah. And there was a line on the floor. You had to be at least like 5 inches away from her. She didn't want to be near anybody. And she was really nasty. She was just really nasty to everybody. Yeah, all these people came back and they were really excited to meet her. And I get it. Like when you've just done a show, the last thing you want to do is deal with is people, but you're getting paid millions of dollars to put out music. You've become a music star. Now stand there and take the damn pictures.
I've been very fortunate enough to have seen Against Me, and then Laura Jane Grace has another band called Laura Jane Grace and the Devouring Mothers. I took which is a really good album too. But I took Madison to that show because she really likes Laura Jane Grace. Like she really likes Joan Jett. She likes Laura Jane Grace. She really is like started to like when it comes to she listens to like Bieber and she listens to like that poppy stuff. But when it comes to like punk women icons, like she is all with it, which I love. And recently she like has become a big fan of a band called the Linda Lindas, which is like the drummer's like 13, 14. They're like they go from 14 to 17. They're all the teenage girls who are in a punk band, and they're really good. And I think it's cool. Like it keeps her in the genre that I want her to be in because I love the genre, but it also has her following like strong female leaders. But I took her to go see Laura Jane Grace at the Majestic in Madison, which is my favorite fucking place in the world. We were in the best spot. She's this little kid, and she's sitting on there's the stage, there's the floor, and then there's like a step with a barricade with tables. So we're at the barricade right behind the barricade with the tables. She's on a chair. And like we're right center stage, and Madison just is waving, and then Laura Jane Grace stops and like points her and goes, "Hey," like says hi to her, And like,
That's cute.
yeah, it was pretty cool. And that was like a big moment for me. I was like, fuck yeah. Like you got to meet your icons, which I think like too is like, like when you bring up Shania Twain and she's being, it sucks, or whatever, or she's being crappy, which I get. Yeah, you don't want to deal with people all the time, but at the same time, like they're the reason you're successful is these people.
Absolutely.
And like at least like there's artists like Bowie, there's artists like Laura Jane Grace and Against Me that can recognize, hey, these people are the reason I can live this dream and keep giving them the product that I give them. And so like, yeah, I'll say hi to them. Like, and that's all it takes, which is a pretty cool thing, a really cool thing.
I have to tell you, I really enjoyed the album. Now, I'm not somebody that, again, I like what I like, and it's really hard for me to kind of move outside my box of stuff. But it's something that I put on and I let on, and I actually played a couple of songs twice because I liked them so much. So it was an album that I thought was very listenable, and I actually enjoyed it. I don't know that I would consider it punk though.
I mean, listen,
in a traditional way.
I don't know if there is a traditional punk band anymore.
Okay,
it's changed. There's a lot of like now.
Marty.
Yeah, you would say like now like people would consider a lot of things that were punk back in the day pop punk. Now, it's more like of that bubblegum, upbeat, major chord type of stuff. But if you listen to their first album, Reinventing Axl Rose, like you'll be, yeah, this is a punk band. If you go to the shows and you see how the crowds interact with it, and like punk has shifted so much since the 80s. So like the punk scene back in the day, I don't know if you know this, was incredibly dangerous. They're like, especially in like Los Angeles, of course, like punk kind of originated. You could say in England with the Clash and the Sex Pistols.
I was going to say London and stuff like that. Yeah,
with the Sex Pistols. But you could also say it began in the United States with the Ramones, with the CBGB, the Ramones, and New York and everything, and it shifted towards Los Angeles and stuff like that. But there was like a lot of gang activity at punk shows. There used to be, back in the day, you would go to a punk show, and it wouldn't be unusual to have your nose broken, because just the crowds were just like fucking crazy. And that's like the whole anarchy thing is like attached to the punk scene. Over time, it shifted. Like people are just like, we need to stop. It went from being like this chaotic, no rules type of thing to a group where everybody's welcome. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you come from. Everybody's welcome. Like everyone's here to have fun. Everyone's here to support everybody. And it's really kind of turned in more from a political sense of like no rules to a mindset of peace, unity, and fun.
Yeah.
Which is that's the punk rock I know. That's the punk rock I grew up with. I don't know, like, had I gone to the shows back in the day, like if I was born during that time and could be around, I don't know that I would want to go to them, because I've read plenty of books by like punk artists that are just like, they tell some crazy fucking stories, and crazy things happen to punk shows still. There are the mosh pits, there are the crowd surfing. I've gone crowd surfing. I've been dropped crowd surfing. I've been landed on, kicked in the back of the head. I've been in that kind of those things, but still,
great.
It's a world where if I fall down, somebody's gonna pick me up. Whereas back in the day, like,
that's nice. In the old days, nobody would help you. You'd be bludgeoned to death. But today they'll reach out a hand and help you up. That's always nice. That's the change in the punk scene.
a lot of times it ended, like punk shows ended because riot squads would show up and break it up, because there's like, there was like these punk gang type things going on, and then they would show up, and then they would, it'd be like the punks versus the skinheads at like these shows and stuff like that, and it would just go like chaos would break out. So it's an interesting history. The music is awesome, but I'm glad it doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, you wouldn't let your daughter go to a show like that, would you?
Fuck no. So I mean, yeah. So like the word punk, I guess, I call a lot of bands punk bands that probably aren't punk bands, just because, one, they started as it, and that's just kind of like the label that they've had and have gone. And you could even say David Bowie's punk.
Sure, there's a part of him that did that kind of stuff at
Yeah.
one point.
And it's I think as a whole the genre has changed quite a bit, because even like if you listen to bands like NoFX, you listen to the early stuff, it's more gritty. It's you know, it's very different than what they release now. And they still call themselves a punk band. So, and you know, changing with the times sometimes. But it's not dead. Believe it or not.
Punk is not dead. When you have the baby, I think that should be the first T-shirt you buy. The baby. Punk is not dead.
The baby already has. So I have a Descendants onesie.
Yep.
So the Descendants are a band again, and this can be a future edition of the show. They've been around since the '80s, and they're fucking cool. They're really fun, and they were like more. The Descendants are. It's a group of people who were made fun of in high school, that were picked on, they were bullied. They formed a band and they became successful, and they wrote songs saying like, you know, like fuck this, like
fuck you
type of stuff. And it's like you could consider it pop punk. Like it's not. Back in the day, they were like the fastest band that you could have ever seen, like when they're playing, but they're really not. Like when you in the grand scheme of things, but they're really good too. So a band you should check out. But I have a onesie that Ashton had when he was a baby. It's a Descendants onesie, and it has a baby. Milo is their character, and Milo is also the lead singer. But they have like a little stick figure kind of thing drawn on it, and it's their album cover called "I Don't Want to Grow Up," which is really cool. And then the baby will also have the shirt that's been circulating with all my children. I bought it when Madison was a kid at a Warped Tour. That had to be in 2009 from Bad Religion. And it's a toddler shirt. And on the back, it says Bad Religion on the front, who have also been around for quite some time and are fucking amazing. But on the back, it says, I'm a latchkey kid. So... Madison wore it, Ashton wore it, and now this baby will also wear it. And
I want to prepare you for something. Yeah. I need to prepare you for this, because this is going to happen. Your kids will grow up. They will go off to college or whatever, and they'll be about that age, and then they'll all come home for Christmas. And you'll be a little bit older, and Chris will be a little bit older. And, you know, Chris is going to be in the kitchen making the turkey or whatever. You're going to be sitting down watching TV, and the kids are going to be over catching up, and they're going to talk about, do you remember those damn shirts Dad made us wear? That's what's going to, I'm just, you know, getting you prepared right now in your life. This is something that it's very comforting and happy, but at some point the kids are going to bring it up as a bad thing. So.
No, that's all right. Some of my best moments are just driving in the car. And, you know, a lot of times, like if I'm driving, I kind of control what's on. The kids will ask for songs, and I'll throw it on there every once in a while. But even today, like when I'm driving and I'm playing a song that I like, and all of a sudden in the back, you know, I hear a little humming, I hear a little singing to the tune I like, and it's Ashton or Madison kind of singing along, and I was like, those are some of my moments. I'm like, yes, please keep listening to this. And so the first song the baby's gonna hear, it's got to be a song that I like, because Carissa. What
about Carissa? She's the one pushing this thing out.
She listens to some shit, dude. It's not good. She's in the other room. I don't want her to hear me. Okay. But
right.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. I don't know.
Poor woman.
I can call her real quick. Carissa. See what she says. But she'd probably pick some shitty like Panic at the Disco song, and I'm like, no, we're not doing that.
I don't know that would be necessarily the worst thing in the world, depending on the song.
It would be.
No,
there is
no.
Carissa, come here. There is no good Panic at the Disco song.
Come on, now that's not fair.
The lead singer. Come on. The lead singer he seems like a cool dude. Like he seems like a nice guy. But no, I've seen them live, and it was horrible. Just god awful. God awful. Here she is. Oh, she's yelling at me.
She's in a good mood, obviously.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry. We're discussing the first song that the baby should hear. Todd wants to know your opinion. What do you think?
I'm not giving my opinion.
Why aren't you going to give me your opinion? Yeah, talking to the mic. You got to really stretch.
I can't.
The cord's not long enough. What do you say? You can't give your opinion? Why?
Because you're a music snob.
Because I'm a music snob.
It's gonna be a
yes, she is right.
I'm a music
That's
snob?
exactly right. Well, not a snob, but Yeah, obviously, anything she chooses is not good enough. You've said that before.
I listened to David Bowie's Black Star. I gave it an honest try. Did I like it? It was fine. But the first song, I mean, what would you pick? What
I don't even know.
she doesn't even know. Would it be she'd probably play some like shitty Machine Gun Kelly song. I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to
No,
hear
she wouldn't do that. She wouldn't do that.
Emo Girl. I don't want to hear that.
She wouldn't do that. She doesn't like Machine Gun Kelly, does she?
Yeah, she likes Machine Gun Kelly.
No, she does not.
Yeah, she does.
Okay, my opinion just changed.
I told you. It's rough. It's rough stuff. What else? She listens to like really depressing music too, which I like. I like my fair share of who? Phoebe Bridgers? I don't know who that is. Do you know who Phoebe Bridgers is?
No, I don't.
I don't know either. I'm just gonna, I told her originally, like, I'll just bring like a Bluetooth speaker, and when she's giving birth, we'll play Salt and Pepper Push It, and then we'll kind of see where the mood takes us.
I think she'll throw you right out of the room. That's where it's going to take you.
Yeah, maybe. I got some powerful speakers though. I can really blast some tunes in that hospital.
What you should do is set up a little DJ table and do an actual show from out there. Ladies and gentlemen, it's on the way out. This one's going out to the baby. This is Salt and Pepper and Push It.
There you go. Yeah, I
With
just
the
gotta
disco ball.
I do want the first song for my kid to hear. I think the first record that Ashton listened to, it was on his way home. It was from a band from Milwaukee called Direct Hit, and they're amazing. I love them very much. And it was their record Brainless God.
Interesting.
It's really good. And that's like a concept album where like the album tells a story, and that's another record I want to talk about one day. And it's so many memories, so many good times attached to it. But so I really got to have something like for my own personal selfish reasons. This baby's got to listen to something I like. I'm slowly but surely developing an army of punk rock children, and I'll be damned if I'm stopping with number 3.
Wait till they all come home with safety pins in their ears and chains
I'm
from
fine
the
with that.
nose. And, come on. Huh? So you're okay with that?
I used to have gauged ears. Did you know that?
I think so.
You could fit a pencil through these holes in my
Yeah.
ears. Yeah. I wasn't this casual guy that you see these days, Todd. I was rough around the edges. I was rogue. I was
smoking.
I was smoking the occasional cigarette. I smoked the ones that, like, it was like for the indecisive smoker, where you couldn't decide if you wanted menthol or regular. So it was the ones with the balls, where like in the filter, where it's like, okay, regular. Now I'm gonna crush it and get the menthol out of it. That was the kind of smoker I was.
So the person that caught you doing it, was it somebody important, or is it just an average person that kind of knew you?
At the time, it was a friend that I was pretty tight with.
Okay.
And there was a lot of disappointment, and I was just like, man. And like I said, it was like every once in a while when the stress was high, when it was really stressful at times, I would have the occasional Camel Crush. Big deal. That's what they were called.
So what?
When I ran
can I
out
ask what kind of car you were sitting in?
At that time, a Hyundai Elantra. I was rolling the mean streets, playing against me because I had the CD at that time. That was before the Bluetooth inventions were around. I had the CD, so you put it in with a purpose. And I'm like, all right, it's Camel Crush time on my way home.
They had the gauges in the ears.
Gauges in the ears.
He was smoking the butts, and he had the.
I had a mohawk at one time too.
The Elantra. Yeah, we all did at some point.
You had a
didn't we?
mohawk?
But no, but I had purple hair.
Purple hair? I think you could rock that right now.
I probably could.
All right, so next Halloween you got to be Ziggy Stardust. Can you do that?
Shit, no, that's a lot to live up to. Plus, it's got to be a character that has a beard, because I'm not shaving it for anything.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm glad we did this, Todd. It was a good conversation. It was a good time. Interestingly enough, another album that I like a lot is called Green Star. By a band called Pears.
Never heard of them.
Like the fruit. Yeah.
Never heard of it.
They're very good. I don't know if you would like them, but I don't know. You like this one. So I guess on a scale of 1 to 10, from Never listened to again to, yeah, I would listen again. Would you listen to White Crosses by Against Me?
1 to 10, I'd give it a good 7. I would
Okay.
definitely throw that on and play it. Now, am I going to add it to my Spotify playlist? I don't know.
You should.
They know that I played it off there, so
Yeah.
it'll be in that little window that says you like this. So maybe it'll open my ears to some other stuff.
All their albums are very good. And I would say
You're a little biased, though. I mean,
yeah,
come on.
for sure. I would say they're all different too. Like, if you start with the first one, Reinventing Axl Rose, it's very gritty, it's very punk, and then I think their next one was As the Eternal Cowboy. I want to say, I could be wrong on that. It's different. It's kind of slowed down in a sense, but it's still very good. Searching for a Form of Clarity, probably my all-time favorite Against Me record because it's the first one I ever bought. I was, that was the first, the first song I ever heard by Against Me was called Don't Lose Touch, which is a really good song off that album. I bought it at a Best Buy, and I listened to it in my Discman while mowing my grandparents' lawn. I remember that. I can't remember a lot of things in my life, Todd, but I can remember that very moment.
That sentence that you just said, that phrase is a lot to unpack right now, just so you know. Between the Walkman and the mowing and the lawn and all, I mean, that's a lot to unpack.
I used to mow my grandparents' lawn for money using their lawnmower and their gas.
Nice.
But I got $20. $20 a mow.
$20, that ain't bad.
Yeah. And I got I had the Discman and the cargo shorts. You had the big pocket so you could fit the whole Discman in there. And then it's.
Why do people make fun of cargo shorts? I like cargo shorts.
Yeah, they're useful.
They're comfy. I'm not going to carry anything in my shorts. They just, they're just comfy.
It's been a hot second since I've worn cargo shorts, but
we're going to change that this summer. Trust me.
Yeah. Now
Once the baby's here, you and I going out with cargo shorts. We're going to get a Hyundai Elantra and we're going to smoke some butts.
We should, we can push the jogging stroller that we have. We can sip some bulbas, wear some aviator sunglasses. We got some New Balances on. We got the cargo shorts. We are attractive with that. That is that is magnets for a partner.
Carissa better not let you out of her sight because there will be women all over you.
So many.
Of course, they'll all
women.
be 78 years old, but still.
You know what they say? If 50 is the new 40, 70 is the new 60, and some 60-year-olds can rock it. Look at David Duchovny. He is majestic.
You're nuts.
You don't like David Duchovny? He's the man.
I don't think he's anything, to be honest with you. And I will just tell you, 50 is not the new 40 because the 40s are the best decade of your life.
Yeah.
40s are the best. Yep. And as soon as you hit 50, everything starts falling apart.
Yeah. Or you just start slipping downstairs. One or the other.
Fuck you. Yep.
Well, Todd, I appreciate you doing this. And you want to do this again? Would you?
I already have my album picked out. We talked about it. I'm ready to go.
So I think we have to do it. So we'll look forward to a future edition of Tunes with Brews. Of course, as we do with every episode, we have to talk about the beer. Super baked, blueberry lemon. The pulpery taste, the perfume-esque taste of it, Todd, does not go away. It is present the whole time.
I don't think I would like that at all.
It's interesting because it has a spice to it that isn't spicy, but you know what I mean? Like an apple spice cake kind of thing. It has that spice. It's tart. It is sour.
Kind of like mulling spices kind of thing. Almost
Maybe.
like around the, yeah.
Yeah. But it's, and I don't like to talk shit about breweries, but I'm pretty sure this is what drinking perfume tastes like. But I liked it. But it really wasn't bad. Would I have it again? I don't know.
If there was a free bottle in the fridge, you'd have it again.
For sure. 100%. But Great Notion, I think this is the second Great Notion beer that we've had on the show. I don't remember what the first one was, but this one, it wasn't bad. I like sours a lot. Recently, I've transitioned back to my IPAs. For a long time, I was drinking a shit ton of sours, but now I've kind of gone back to the IPAs, and I'm, living life. I believe it or not, Todd, I only drink about once a week.
Really?
Yeah. Usually.
Has that changed?
Yeah. I used to.
Yeah.
Probably have maybe maybe like 2 or 3 days a week. And then
Yeah.
now, like, and when I say drink, I mean one. I would have one, but now, no, I one day usually I'll have 1 or 2, and that's it.
Yeah.
I've brought it down. I'm trying to lose weight. I got a half
How's that
marathon.
working out?
I'm running a half marathon tomorrow.
I know you got to get some rest because that's a lot of freaking running.
Isn't that creepy?
It was creepy. I saw the face come around the corner. I'm like, what the hell is that? I'm going to get out my K2 meter and start doing some research over at your house.
All right. Well, the little demon has emerged. But yeah, I would say drink. Get out of here, you creep. All right. Well, thank you. Can you say hi politely?
Hi.
Politely.
Yeah, that's his politeness. Thank God he didn't scream. Okay, so I'll say drink it. And Todd, thanks a lot for doing this. I look forward to the next one. And because I think it's good to have a good diverse thing of music. You know,
We got to.
So I look forward to more editions of this show. And of course, Todd, real quick, you can follow Todd on Instagram. He's got a podcast called the Sandy and Toddcast where he and Sandy talk about spooky shit and unusual shit. You're also on a couple other podcasts, right?
Yeah, Real Ghost Stories online, and also on the Empathicary. So I'm now like helping you out once in a while, like once every 6 months or something like that. So that'll be nice
I don't
too.
think it's just been 6 months, but you were on not that long ago.
I don't remember.
I don't like to bug you because you're a busy guy.
I would do it as often as you want.
All right, well, I'm going to hold you to that.
All right.
Pew pew audio. Goodbye, everyone.